My name is Alderin Ordell, and this presentation is about, well, happiness, because a lot of people are struggling with that these days, and we're going to talk about some of the foundations for creating happiness through compassion and through purpose. So, who am I? I have a master's in counseling psychology from the University of San Francisco. I'm also certified in meditation and clairvoyance. I'm a former group home counselor, so I used to work with those kids that came from very broken homes and help them find their path in life, which was very, very satisfying work. I used to work with gay and lesbian youth, and I was an elementary school counselor. Currently, I'm an animal rights activist. I like to write in my spare time. I'm a small business owner, and I'm a dad, and those are my kids there at the bottom. The top one is Haven. He's my soccer player. He's currently playing in the state cup tournament this weekend, so he's going to be playing tonight out in Gresham against one of the top rivals in the area for his age group, so he's very excited. And then my daughter, her name is Coral, and she's my artist. God, she has amazing skills at portraits. She's done portraits for everyone in the family, so I'm super proud of her too. She's teaching herself 2 different languages. She's a straight A student. She wants to move to Korea and teach English there, so she's got her life planned at age 15. So my vegan story really begins where a lot of vegan stories begin, and that's with bad examples growing up. So I had to watch my mom eat a very poor diet with a lot of processed foods and meat and oils, and she was obese because of that, had cardiac issues. I had a dad who was a chain smoker who ended up passing away of lung cancer. My mom died of a cardiac arrest playing tennis with me on my 23rd birthday. Her boyfriend that she had at the time, man, this guy ate pizza, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I don't know if you guys remember Little Caesars, but they had the pizza back then where you could buy like 2 pizzas for $10. This guy would take it down for breakfast. I mean, it was just one after another after another. And then I'd go over to my uncle's house, and he'd have the prime rib going and the barbecue going and anything meat. So it was just constantly meat. And vegetables for them was like a side salad next to a pound of prime rib. So that's what I saw. And I've seen everybody in my family get very sick and die from this kind of diet. And so lots of bad examples. But the biggest moment of realization that I had came in the 8th grade, and there was this group that was traveling around at the time when they used to have assemblies for 8th graders where groups would come in, and they gave a presentation about the conditions of slaughterhouses and how the animals were being treated. And I just remember being absolutely horrified at the conditions that these poor animals were forced to live in. Not so much that they were being slaughtered for meat, but the way that they were being treated up to that point. And I just thought that was horrible, and I couldn't be part of it anymore. So I felt bad for the animals. I went vegetarian by the time I was a senior in high school, and I'm motivated to live a healthy life because of bad examples and because of the compassion I had for the animals. So this is a presentation about happiness and how to create happiness in your life. So the first question that I have, and you guys can think about it as I'm going through this presentation, and that's, how are you feeling today? Post-COVID, a lot of people are struggling. It's been kind of rough. People report feeling anxious, sad, angry. They feel like their world's been turned upside down. There's been an isolating effect from family members. Can't engage in the same activities we used to. So it's been a rough few years for seniors and for everyone else too. And a lot of us are feeling like we're out of control over our own lives. You're not alone. This is, as of now, about 2 million people are clinically diagnosed as being depressed that are seniors in the United States. And unfortunately, this depression is a significant predictor of suicide. White males over the age of 85 are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than any other population in the U.S. And despite this health crisis, approximately 68% of adults over 65 don't know anything really about depression, or very little. And only 38% even believe that it's a health problem at all. One of the factors that contributes to depression is anxiety. Anxiety disorders are the most widespread mental health condition in older adults. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, around 14 to 17% of people over the age of 65 have a diagnosis, and many experts believe that's actually a significant undercount because many cases are missed. People isolate, they don't go talk about it, so it doesn't get discovered and they don't get the help that they need. Older adults specifically are more vulnerable if they struggle with sleep, or they feel unwell or have long-term medical conditions. This all can lead to feeling more anxious. And as loss becomes more frequent in older age, grief can also be a trigger for anxiety. And then a third emotion that a lot of us are struggling with is anger. So you got your depression, your anxiety, and then anger. And anger in itself is a reaction emotion. It's not, it's like a cover emotion for other things that we're experiencing. So it usually indicates the presence of deeper and less comfortable emotions like sadness, feeling guilty about something that happened in the past, something that embarrassed you, hurt, fear. And those things, when we can't deal with them, often present as anger. So let's take a moment and take a deep breath. Talking about the negative stuff is over with, and now we're going to start talking about being happy. So what is the profile of someone who's happy? Someone who's happy is engaged in relationships with other people. They participate in activities with those people and they make a connection with them. They have purpose. They work to accomplish things that didn't exist before. So they have a creative drive, they're working with people, and they have something that they're trying to do, something they're trying to accomplish. They also have compassion, and they express their compassion through the activities that they're engaged with the people that they're with. And the happiest people, they live in the moment, not in the past. So their day is about the plan of what they're doing and the future goals that they have set for themselves, not what happened yesterday or the day before or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Some of the obstacles that we have to happiness is comparison, evaluating our self-worth against the other people, comparing where we are with where someone else is, blaming others for our struggles, not having gratitude for everything good that's happening in our lives, not recognizing the good that's in our lives, and not expressing the gratitude for that, regret, living in the past, excessive worry, feeling disconnected from the world and isolating from people because of that. And then another thing that a lot of people don't consider when it comes to an obstacle to happiness is that the chemicals that they're exposed to, the toxins and the hormones and the food that they're eating, can also have a significant reaction in our own bodies that can make us feel anxious and depressed and angry and be an obstacle to our happiness. So my thesis, my opinion, is that many seniors are depressed, anxious, angry, and otherwise unhappy because they feel disconnected from their world, and they battle feelings of powerlessness and hopelessness. And I believe that seniors can rediscover their compassion, their purpose, and their power by eating better, eating cruelty-free, and living a cruelty-free life. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about a 4-step plan. Step 1 is to rediscover your compassion. Step 2 is to detoxify your body physically and also emotionally. Step 3, discover your purpose in life, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. And step 4 is to unleash your power, because you're just as powerful as anyone else. Even though you're older, you're still powerful. So, step 1, rediscovering our compassion. And this is going to be rediscovering our compassion for animals, for our world, our home, and for the people around us. So step 1, compassion for animals. Do you remember the first time you saw a puppy or a kitten? How did you feel in that moment? Did they look at you like this? Or this? What about this baby? Or these guys? Or this calf? Or these chicks? Do you feel the same way about all animals? Here's another question. Would you rescue a kitten stuck in a tree? How about a dog that's stuck in a well? How about a pig that's trapped in a filthy cage? Or a cow that's being abused by its owner? Or chicks that are about to be cold, which is an unfortunate process where they are basically ground alive when they discover to be male and not female. So does your compassion extend to all animals? If not, when did that change? Can it be changed back? See, I believe that we are born with compassion and empathy, a wonder, a connection for all living creatures on this planet. So at what point did we decide that it was okay to love some animals while abusing and eating other animals? Why love one, but eat the other? So the first part of rediscovering your compassion as an adult is to reconnect with the feelings of love toward all animals that you were born with. Like when you first stared into that puppy's eyes. You're here to take care of animals, not hurt them. So what can you do to reconnect with animals? I highly recommend to visit a real animal sanctuary. There are several of them working in Oregon, and they are taking abused and harmed animals and rehabilitating them and giving them a life that they will never have. Some of them are rescues from slaughterhouses. And this is much different than a zoo where animals are just put on display. Sanctuary, people are working with harmed and abused animals and bringing them back, and it's a magical thing just to see the look of their eyes from being taken from horrible conditions and brought into a place where they can live their lives, and the people there that are helping them. It's a beautiful thing. Another thing you can do is to join an animal rights group. There are several in Oregon. You can walk dogs, you can pet sit dogs, reconnect with animals that way. And if you're unable to do any of that, there's lots of documentaries out there. Even National Geographic on TV has some great specials about our planet and the animals there. So just learning more about them, how they live, what they need to live and thrive in this world, can help you reconnect with them. Compassion is free. Embrace it. The second part of compassion is compassion for our world, our home. And the question is, how does nature make you feel? Do you enjoy a walk in the forest? In fact, Tryon Creek is right down the road. It's one of the most beautiful forests I've seen. I love going there. How about a trip to the lake? I believe that we have compassion for our world as well. We're born with it. But the food we eat has a huge negative impact on our world. And most of us don't realize that what we're choosing at breakfast, lunch, and dinner is having a negative impact on beautiful places like that. And the main reason for this is animal agriculture. Did you know that 15 trillion animals are slaughtered each year for us to eat worldwide? It is a massive, massive number, and most people don't understand how big that is until you realize how long it takes to count to 15 trillion. It takes you about 8 million days. So we live about 27,000 days. So we need about 300 lifetimes just to count the number of animals that are being slaughtered for us to eat every single year. When it comes to animal agriculture, they use a third of our global crop production to feed the animals. A third. They use 33% of all the fresh water in this world. That's 76 trillion gallons of water a year. They're responsible for 16.5% of global greenhouse emissions. That's 6.9 billion tons of carbon dioxide and equivalent emissions. And 80% of ocean pollution is caused by the runoff from places where they're raising and slaughtering the animals. So imagine if we were to use those resources to feed people instead of animals. Would anyone in this world still be hungry? Would we have a global climate crisis? In Oregon alone, there are 11 mega dairies that have more than 2,500 cows each and more than 100,000 cows in total. They produce 17 million kilograms of planet-warming methane each year, the same as 318,000 cars. And they have no pollution restrictions on the amount that they can contaminate our air. Half the wells in the lower Umatilla Basin have nitrate levels above safe levels. So the people there are drinking the water from their wells and they're getting sick and dying from cancer. It's especially dangerous to infants that get blue baby syndrome and to pregnant women who are giving birth to babies with birth defects. I went to a presentation for Food and Water Watch. They're a local organization that they're focused on improving the quality of the food and the water that we consume. And one of the slides they showed me was this 3-mile canyon out in Boardman, Oregon, just down the 84. It's one of the nation's largest mega dairies. They have 33,000 dairy cows, 78,000 cows altogether. They're responsible for 80% of the dairy that Tillamook uses to make their cheeses and their dairy-based products. And they use 39,000 acres of irrigated farmland to support those cows. Now, to give you some idea of how massive this facility is, every one of those white lines is a cage for the cows to be in, and every single one of those is 1/4 mile long. So 4 of those together, you've got an entire mile of cows. And you can see all of them on the map. Dairies like this, they emit the hazardous air pollution such as ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, methane, nitrogen oxides, and odors. Animal agriculture is the leading source of methane pollution in Oregon. Factory farm air pollution is virtually unregulated in Oregon, so they don't have any restrictions on how they're contaminating our air and our water. So we're up here in Portland, and just south of us there are several mega dairies and farms. There's the Hazenberg, the Wilcox, the Skyline, Willamette, and they have 6,000 cows at Hazenberg, 96,000 chickens at Wilcox, 799,000 chickens at Skyline. At the other site, they got 428,000. At Willamette Egg, they got 1,596,000 chickens, 6,000 cows, and 2,919,000 chickens altogether, all within about 40 miles of us, of this location right now. This is a map of where they all are. You see a lot of them are out there on the 84, but over here in Portland, it's a little bit cut off, but you can see all the dots showing they're either chickens or cattle and milk, feedlots for supplying those animals. They're all just south of Portland. So that it's absolutely impacting the food and the water that we're consuming. And this is a map of the United States. You can see the density of the animal agriculture. The darker the color, the more extreme it is. In Oregon, it doesn't even look that bad compared to other parts of the country where cancer rates are going off the charts. People are getting so sick from the nitrates and the methane and ammonia. So the air and water pollution caused by animal agriculture is destroying our planet. Over half the bodies of water across the U.S. are now unswimmable and unfishable due to the pollution. You cannot eat the fish that you fish out of fresh water in most bodies of water across the U.S. because of the contaminants that they're exposed to. The fish are choking on the nitrates. The air pollution is harming ancient forests. Climate change is causing lakes and rivers to dry up, which is impacting indigenous cultures, plus much more. And all of it is because of just the simple choices we make to eat this for breakfast, and this for lunch, and this for dinner. The bottom line is that our choices at mealtime is having a massive negative impact on our planet. And we're all born with a feeling of connection to our world. We would never go to a lake or a stream and dump a big bucket of contaminants into the water. We wouldn't burn things that we knew were going to poison the air for our neighbors. Yet the choices we make at mealtime is doing exactly that. So just like the animals, we're born with compassion. But as adults, we are not making those compassionate choices. So what can you do? Reconnect with your home. Remember what it's like to be outside and in nature. Feel that connection. Go out walking, especially in the forest. The forest does magical things. And like I said, Tryon Creek is not too far from here. It's about a 20-minute drive, and it's wheelchair accessible, beautiful trees. Just go out there, spend some time breathing the air and reconnecting with the beauty, the natural beauty that Oregon has to offer. If you can't walk, drive to the lake, the desert, the ocean, someplace that calls to you. Can't get out? Watch documentaries like Dominion, Earthlings, Food Inc., National Geographic. Join a group, a nature group. Go online, find a social group. When you go outside and reconnect with nature, it makes it easier to eat and live cruelty-free. It creates a drive to learn more and adopt cruelty-free behaviors. None of us want to hurt our home, and we don't have to. And it feels good to do our part. The third part of compassion is compassion for people. This can be tricky because the people around us can be annoying, right? We may not agree with how they look, what they believe, who they vote for, etc. The key is you don't have to like people in order to be compassionate toward them. It's easy to find things that we don't like in just about everyone. However, I believe firmly that every single person is worthy of our compassion. The key to showing compassion in service is to not be tied to the results. I have a model, and that's lowered expectations. When I go to an animal rights event or give a presentation, my feelings of self-worth or my compassion for the world is not diminished if I don't get great results. If someone yells at me or no one wants to talk about it, I don't worry about it. I'm just as happy to be there because I know if I said something that they heard, maybe one day it'll have an impact on their lives. Even the person that yelled at me. And maybe that person that yelled at me, that heard that, might continue on to do great things in their lives. So I'm not worried about people who don't like me. I'm not worried about saving the world in a single event. I still have compassion for every single person that I'm in contact with, regardless if they eat meat or harm the environment or anything else that I don't like. So compassion for others is acknowledging and valuing the light that they have inside of them. Their light may be diminished by a myriad of things going on in this world in their lives, but the light is always there. They're still worthy of your time. They're still worthy of your compassion. So it's important that we take time to reconnect with people, even the ones that we don't like. Join groups, go on walks with them, play with them, go on meaningful trips and outings together, learn things together, work with them on common goals that you have. It could be as simple as cleaning something up and maybe something bigger like a climate change bill or some other working with the homeless or the youth of the state. So it doesn't matter what the activity it is important that you find people to connect with in that activity. Book clubs, documentary watching clubs, food and cooking clubs, and group therapy works. If you just getting together with people and talking about some of the feelings that we have from the COVID and everything that we've been through is really important. Don't keep it all inside. Talk about it. You'll find that you're going to have more in common with the people around you than you have that's different from them. So compassion is the connection that we have with animals, our home, and the people around us. Compassion is our roots to life. These roots keep us grounded so we're not reeds swaying in the winds of life. And what I mean by that is that something happens, some political thing happens, or some catastrophe happens overseas, the winds blow and we go that way. Or something happens in our family and the winds blow and we go that way. Well, the happiest people have strong roots. So when those things happen, they're not swaying in the winds. They're not going to get knocked off balance by that. They're rooted in their compassion. They're rooted in their goals. They're rooted in their connection with people, and they stay firm. Humans, first and foremost, are emotional beings. We have to feel first before we can be motivated to action. That's why compassion is the root of happiness. When we have compassion for animals, our planet, and each other, we have created meaningful motivation and have taken the first step toward happiness. The second step to happiness is detoxification. So what do we do with our compassion and our motivation? We detoxify, because compassion and a desire to be cruelty-free isn't enough. Toxins in our body and defense mechanisms from wounds in our past can work against us. That's why we have to heal and make peace with our mind and body in order to take the next step toward happiness. So when we detoxify, we want to detoxify from food addiction and also detoxify emotionally. So the first part is food addiction. How does this make you feel?
Terrific.
Or this. Or this. If you felt a craving for these foods, an excitement, an instant desire, you might have food addiction. People with food addiction struggle with every day with a loss of control or an inability to stop eating foods that are high in oil, fat, salt, sugar, or artificial sweeteners. Even when they know these foods are bad for their health and harmful to the animals and the planet, they still eat them. One of the reasons is that these foods have many addictive chemicals in them. Meat and dairy contain chemicals and hormones that throw our whole body out of balance and are addictive. According to PETA, meat and other animal-based foods contain opioids, just like the drugs, and this causes people to get hooked on them and to crave more. A recent study conducted by the University of Michigan and released by the U.S. National Library of Medicine indicates that the more processed and fatty a food is, the more likely it is to cause an addictive eating behavior. Researchers identify addictive foods based on people's responses to what they call the Yale Food Addiction Scale questionnaire. And during this questionnaire, people reported that they have the hardest time controlling their cravings for pizza, steak, bacon, cheeseburgers, and ice cream. Cheese is thought to be especially addictive because the casein, the milk protein in it, releases opioids called casomorphins. Another chemical that is in meat and dairy comes in the form of hormones. It's widely accepted among food scientists today that if a livestock suffers in the moments just before being slaughtered, adrenaline, cortisol, and other stress chemicals are released into its bloodstream, which can affect the look, the texture, and the taste of the meat. So when we eat this meat, we're being exposed to that adrenaline and cortisol. And it causes our own stress hormones to rise and our testosterone levels to drop. Cortisol in meat, in particular, according to nutritionfacts.com, increases our risk of cardiac attacks and reduces the ability of our immune system to fight infections. Cortisol may also help explain why those who are depressed tend to put on abdominal fat. The accumulation of fat around our internal organs may be an adaptation by which our body deals with excessive stress from the cortisol. According to Dr. Neil Barnard, the author of Breaking the Food Seduction, it takes just 3 weeks to kick the cravings for addictive foods like meat and cheese. And coincidentally, he's going to be at Pal's Books on Wednesday, the 24th. So if you guys can go down there and see him, he would be a great person to hear and ask questions to, because he's written some amazing books. So he says that we need a 21-day vegan pledge. Meatless Monday isn't going to help you go cruelty-free. You have to commit at least 21 days of meatless, dairy-free meals in order to detoxify from the addictive chemicals and give your body a chance to adapt to a new diet. If you can do this, then soon your body will crave the healthy foods and not the ones that are causing the health problems. The second part of detoxification is to detoxify emotionally. And this is a much harder subject, but when it comes to negative things that have happened in our past, we all have the power to let those things go. Why? Because the past does not exist. Everything that happened in our past is no longer happening. The only thing that does exist is our memories and our perceptions of those memories, which change as we go through different stages in life. That means that the past is not something out here that is still attacking us. No matter how hard it might have been when you were going through it, it's not there anymore attacking you. It's something that's in here, in our mind, inside our own body, and that means we have the power to control it. Everything that we're holding on to from the past and inside our own minds can be let go. So why do we hold on to things? It's actually a defense mechanism Just like when we touch something hot and our hand recoils to move away from the heat, and we learn not to touch hot things anymore, our mind over time has created these same defense mechanisms to protect us from things that have burnt us in our own past. For example, if we had a bad relationship, we might shut down and avoid people. If someone abused us, we might develop a fear for certain types of people that resemble the person who hurt us. These defense mechanisms are mostly toxic to us. Our body is trying to protect us, but in reality, it's holding us back, keeping us judgmental of others, sometimes making us isolated, and keeping us from being compassionate and living in the moment. So we have to let the past go. The bad stuff, anyway. Hold on to the good stuff, because that can give you motivation. But we have to unravel the defense mechanisms. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done, so I cannot recommend strongly enough that every person in this room invest the time to see a therapist or join group therapy. Even if you think everything is going all right, you'd be surprised that just hearing other people's stories might trigger things in your own mind and your own experience that you can bring up and deal with and let go. When we acknowledge it, we can let it go. If we keep it buried inside of us, it can sit there and fester and cause us damage every single day. The happiest people live in the moment, unattached to the past, and they're focused on positive goals that they have for the future. So cruelty-free living isn't just an external behavior, it's internal as well. We have to be cruelty-free to ourselves. So step 3 in finding happiness is finding your purpose. The happiest people have a strong sense of purpose in their lives. Again, they are not the reeds blowing in the wind. They are grounded, they are focused, and they serve with joy in their hearts. This is an example of a man that I knew about 20 years ago. His name was Alex. He was 85 years old at the time, and he had to hobble to walk and to get those feet shifting back and forth, and then he would just kind of lean forward to get the movement, but he could do it. And 4 times a week, he would hobble out of his home to the bus stop and go to the home for mentally and physically disabled adults. And then he would go to the garden there and just wait. One by one, others would come to join him, and he would walk with them. He couldn't speak English, and he certainly couldn't walk fast, but he could walk. And sometimes he would hold their hands. And he made a difference to every single person that came out there and walked with him in that garden. Alex was happy, one of the happiest people I ever met, because he had compassion, he had relationships, he had meaning in the activities that he was doing, and he accomplished something by holding their hands and walking with those mentally and physically disabled adults. Even with a broken body, toward the end of his life, he served with joy. Some examples of having cruelty-free purpose, of course, are walking with others and leading by example. You can start and join a reading group or documentary watching. If some issue is coming up that affects whatever it is that you're focused on, whether it be homeless or kids or environment or animals, write letters to the editor. It's very empowering. Get your voice heard. You still have a voice, every one of you. Make it heard. Write emails to your representatives, the governor, anyone else. When it comes to food, you can explore new recipes for the dining hall. Meet with staff there. Ask for a salad bar. Ask for fruit to be available at all times of the day.
That's a good point. Yeah. We don't have fruit and water. We need fruit and water.
Exactly. So that could be something that would be an example of having purpose that could really benefit the people around you, make connections if you all get together and talk about it, what you want to accomplish in your dining. Come up with a list and present it to them. Another thing you can do is you can join groups like Northwest Veg. It's Keith over there. He's in charge of it. I'm going to a potluck tomorrow with them. It's out in Hillsboro, and there's going to be a speaker there that's talking, and also everybody brings food, and you just eat and talk with people and listen to the speaker. It's a wonderful experience. Can't recommend it enough. You can also join environmental groups like Food and Water Watch. They're getting busy to start legislation to put a moratorium on the creation of more slaughterhouses and dairies in Oregon until we get the pollution under control of what we currently have. We're going to put a stop to them making more. So if you want to be involved with that, you can reach out to them. And for health reasons, you can learn and helping each other with the 21-day challenge. You can learn and teach vegan cooking. There's lots of videos online. You can get together with different cookbooks that have been made, talk to each other about it, what the kind of things you'd like to eat, the soups, the casseroles. And I have some stuff about that at the end I'm going to talk about too. The most important thing is to figure out what your why is to be cruelty-free, because your why is your engine to your purpose. It's the fuel for your fire. It's your motivation, your reason to act. So why would you want to be cruelty-free? Maybe it's because you don't want animals to suffer anymore. You want them to be treated humanely. Or maybe it's because you're concerned about this planet and future generations that are going to live here. If the water is already contaminated where we can't swim and fish in it, then what are our kids going to do? And what are their kids going to do? Or maybe you want to find like-minded people to work with. Or maybe your motivation is to get healthier because you have a health challenge that you're facing. Or maybe you want to leave behind a legacy to your younger generation so they can see an example for them to aspire to be. Or maybe you want to do work to honor a loved one that has passed in your life, which is a lot of the reason that I do what I do is for my mother who passed in my life. So it's a great motivation. It's a great why to get up out of bed and do stuff that's positive. So write down your why and keep it with you. Write it down on a postcard or attach it to the home screen of your phone if you know how to do that, and read it several times a day. This will give you the strength during the 21-day vegan challenge. This will give you the motivation to act. And if it's important enough to do, it's important enough to do with all of your heart and all of your soul. And the final part to being happy is to unleash your power. A lot of it was the activities that I listed before, but I really want to hone in on the point that your choices matter just as much as any other person that's alive on this planet. You have as much power as someone who's 20 or 30 or 40. And why? Because all of our choices collectively impact this world. What you eat, what you do, who you talk to, it all matters. And it takes all of us working together to solve these problems and change this world and to get healthier. I'm going to end this part with a couple quotes that I really like. And one of them comes from Martin Luther King. And he said, "Never, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or an animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way." And Jane Goodall, one of my personal heroes, she said, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." Compassion, detoxification, purpose, and action are all the pillars for happiness. Make a plan and work with others, and each of us can live healthier and feel good and feel happy. The end. So I did prepare a quick section here about food. I know I want to leave some time for people to ask questions and to give feedback. But Tomiko asked me to talk a little bit about the food that I eat. So first I want to show you your teeth. So we're down there on the bottom right, we're humans. We have the same teeth as a frugivore, which is an animal that eats fruits, vegetables, and nuts. We're not the herbivores that eat just grass, because we don't have those long shearing teeth. We don't have the meat teeth of the omnivore, and we don't have the hunting teeth of a carnivore. We are frugivores. In fact, there's a great article that PETA just wrote, if you look them up online, about how we have evolved from being frugivores to eating meat, and it's not for good reasons, and it's had devastating health effects, but it's a great article if you want to go to PETA.org and see that. So the idea that eating vegan is somehow you're not getting protein or it's going to make you weak, all you have to do is look at the animal kingdom and see the animals that are vegans, and they're massive. They're rhinos, they're giant elephants, they're big old gorillas, bulls. They're all eating vegan, and they're not eating tofu, and they're still massive and strong creatures. So I went to the doctor this April and had my blood tested, and I am not someone who cares for tofu all that much. I don't substitute meat with other things. I just eat what I like, which is a lot of lentils, black beans, and white beans, lots of vegetables, and I'll show you some of my favorite recipes in a second. But if you look on the right there, my protein levels, is this the one that says protein? Yeah, my total protein is a 7.6 in the green level there. That's the average level. So I'm at a higher than average protein level in my blood as a vegan compared to meat eaters, because 99.5% of people in this country are meat eaters. But my protein levels are actually higher. Oh, and the other one on the left was just showing my cholesterol levels at 152. Dr. Shabandi told me that one of the doctors out there that said anything below 150, you basically aren't going to get heart disease. So I'm at 152. I'm 2 points away from basically guaranteeing I'm not going to get heart disease. The food I eat, well, I got to cook for my kids, so making a vegan pizza is a great idea. You can see I've stacked it full of, and these are my actual things that I cooked, zucchinis and spinach and onions and mushrooms, and they all love that. On the right there, that's kimchi that I make. It's Napa cabbage with red peppers, plum sauce, garlic, onions, all mixed together, and you use it as a base to make pancakes, to make casseroles, to make soups. Super nutritious and delicious. This is a potato soup that I made. A lot of recipes start off with garlic, carrots, celery, onions, fry them up, soften them up, put them in there with a stock. You can thicken it up with some cashews or a potato, thicken it up, and you got a delicious potato soup, very hearty, very satisfying. On the left is some vegan sausage that I made. It was chia seeds and nutritional yeast and some beans and other things. It came out very sausage-like. I fed it to my kids with some chips and some onions and some guacamole, and they ate it basically like a nacho. They loved it. On the right there, you can see I do a lot with a Korean pancake mix. And it's not a sweet pancake mix like a Bisquick. It's a savory pancake mix, so you can put anything into it and make your pancakes. And if you have a good pan, you don't have to use very much oil at all to get that nice seared effect. So this pancake I made is full of mushrooms and onions and spinach. And again, my kids love it. These are some of the recipes that I enjoy making. I didn't have pictures of what I made, so I had to look them up.
Could we have pictures of those recipes?
Yeah, I mean, all this is online. You can get on their newsletters, Facebook pages. I mean, it's almost like a whole other presentation of like, connecting you guys to all this, but we're kind of running out of time. But yeah, it's all out there. If you just Google vegan recipes, you're going to find tons of information. Go to Northwest Veg and talk to the people there that are at the potluck, and they'll tell you what they're cooking. You can get some ideas for recipes too. So this is a miso gochujang tofu stir fry. So gochujang is a red pepper sauce. My kids are half Korean, so they love the spicy. So it's basically just some tofu, peanut butter, gochujang sauce, vegetables, all put in, sauteed together. You can put that over rice or eat it separately. It's delicious. Tom yum soup, zucchini, noodles, mushrooms. It's got a zest to it because you're using some lemon in there, which is really delicious. This is a kung pao tofu. I'm sure you've seen that at Chinese restaurants, but if you go easy on the oil, this can be very healthy too. So my point is that I am not suffering at all, and it's not hard to eat and be cruelty-free, and kids love it. Food's delicious, and I'm super healthy doing it, so it's very possible. So.